Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Eternal Tournament Series Season 2 Invitational. We just finished up all 3 rounds of our winner's bracket. So winner's bracket is set. We're going to hit that really quick. Joining me, we have tagged out Lights Out Ace now for Loco Pojo.
Hey ho, how's it going?
And real quick, just to go over the bracket. So our top four winners that we will be seeing tomorrow. Winners bracket players are all done for today, but we will be seeing them for day 2 tomorrow. We had Toth 2-1 over Shadowfire, Toth playing Shimmer and Combry. We had aReNGee 2-1 over Conf Croat. aReNGee was on Big Combry. So we've got a Shimmer and Combry v Big Combry matchup tomorrow for our first match in the winners bracket. We had our very own, and casting with me now, Loco Pojo, going 2-1 over Jocked in the Mauler's Mirror match.
What?
And we... What? Was it the Mauler's Mirror match? Am I correct in that?
It was a Mauler's Mirror match. I played 2 of them today.
Ooh, that's unfortunate. You ran into the other Mauler's decks. And for our last matchup, we will have Loco Pojo playing Bobbert Joe, who 2-1'd on stream over Jellomoose. We saw that matchup with him playing Shimmer and Combry. So a lot of representation out of Combry-based decks. 3 of our 4 top 4, as they were, top 8 players, but the top 4 in the winners bracket are on Combry and Loco Pojo on Mauler. So a little bit of the odd man out. Think you have a good chance tomorrow?
Yeah, I think I'll be doing okay. I'm glad to get the Mauler's matches out of the way in particular. Those ones are always a bit of a coin toss because they tend to be mirror matches, but ended up going pretty well for me.
Yeah. Well, glad you got out, man. Hey, it was a great run for you today. 3-0 on the start, so let's see if we can keep it up.
Indeed. All right.
Yeah, we should be jumping into game here in just a second. We are going to be featuring the first round of the losers bracket. As we've talked about, this is going to be all elimination matches. Once you're in the losers bracket, obviously, you are on the chopping block. So whoever loses these matches will unfortunately be done. It will not be making it further in the tournament or on to day 2. The match we are going to be taking a look at is going to be Smoony on Xenon Killers versus Rhyme on Felm Control.
A little bit of spice in each of these decks. They're really pretty exciting. Spoone is running 4 of Xenon Cultists, the new card that gives cards that go into your void that +2/+2 bonus, which is just really exceptional. Fun for Dawnwalker killer combos, just makes you bigger and bigger Dawnwalkers. Meanwhile, on Rhyme side, we have a lot of interesting little spicy cards, including one of Spell Swipe, which is pretty neat.
Yeah, we'll see if that spell swipe comes in handy. Getting into game, we're seeing Smoony deciding if he wants to keep his hand. Rhyme's hand over there, he's got his power he's looking for, except he is short a Shadow Sigil. He'll be looking to pick up one of those so he can get that Bloodcaster down on 3. And we see Smoony lead off with a Xenon Banner.
Yeah, he's got Sandstorm Titan and 2 Dark Returns in hand, which means that he has a really interesting turn 4, 5, and 6, but not too much going on in the early game. So we'll see if Rhyme can put a little pressure on. I think a late game hand like this is pretty good against control.
Yeah, not too bad. We see him pick up even the 3rd Dark Return, so we'll probably be seeing the Sandstorm Titan recurred a few times. Although if it is brought down with the Withering Witch, it may not be quite as strong. Could come out as like a 6/2.
Rhyme with no removal in hand yet, but he does have Film Bloodcaster to hold down the fort a little bit. It won't be that good against Sandstorm Titan, but could end up being decent against some of the other cards in Spoone's deck.
Yeah, and I have to imagine, Smoony actually opting to go ahead and drop the Dawnwalker here, and I have to imagine if you're going to play the Dawnwalker and play off curve that you are going to look to suffocate this Bloodcaster right here.
Yep, he could hold out, hope for a power, play the Suffocate and the Sandstorm Titan on the next turn for a more surprising attack, but it seems like just for efficiency's sake, he's going to go ahead and suffocate the Felon Bloodcaster now.
Yeah, and this leads Rhyme to an interesting turn. Like, I'm wondering if he's going to go ahead and fire off this lightning, clean it up, and he doesn't. Not unwise. Probably realizes that this Dawnwalker is going to be recurring out of the graveyard.
Yep, he has 2 Steward of Past in his main board and 2 more in his side, which we'll almost certainly be seeing come in against this deck. Hasn't drawn into them yet, but those will be helpful against Dawnwalker later in the game. If he makes it.
Yeah, will be helpful. And the Permafrost actually a pretty big pickup out of Rhyme. Permafrost allowing him to go ahead and lock that Dawnwalker down permanently.
Yeah, that's pretty effective. There's always a chance that Spoone can kill it with one of his own. spells, but at the moment, that should allow some access to Dawnwalker. Looking at Avara's favor on Dawnwalker right now, but maybe he just wants to hold in and use the permafrost. Since he needs the power, it seems right here to go ahead and go for the Avara's favor.
Yeah, he goes ahead and gets the Vars favor in, and that's an important point. Is that like that power is going to be big here? If he can get this Azendal's gift down on next turn, Smoothie's going to be in a lot of trouble. Like his hand is mostly dead here.
Indeed. So, whoops. Hang on a second, lost the stream. All right, so we have lots of recursion effects going on here. Sandstorm Titan and Dawnwalker, both options to come back. He can give either one of these like a slight bonus, but we'll see what he ends up going for.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Sandstorm Titan, like we were saying, with the Withering Witch coming back as a 6/2, not nearly as strong as it was. Much easier to clean up, and in fact, this Lightning Storm could go ahead and take care of it.
Yeah, it still beats out Vara's favor, of course, so it's nice to have continued health benefits, and if he continues to bring it back, it's just going to get tougher and tougher and harder to kill. Once it hits about 3, it will be pretty much immune to anything that Rhyme can throw out. There's not any like direct damage spells in Rhyme's deck.
Yeah, very true. And in the meantime, Rhyme, he is down to 12 HP here. He needs to find an answer to this very quickly. And Spoony not short on threats right now with all these Dark Returns keep bringing back these Sandstorm Titans, and they'll just keep pumping the Dawnwalkers back out.
Mooney drawing into a second Sandstorm Titan was definitely a big hit in his favor. The endurance units with all of that extra toughness tend to involve at least 2 different separate solutions, and he's got so many different ways to recur them that it's going to be really, really hard for Rhyme to get ahead of this.
Yeah, and next turn we'll be seeing, I imagine, that Xenon Cultist coming down. It's going to get a bunch of buffs.
Yep. Rhyme holding on to 2 permafrosts, both of them dead in hand against Sandstorm Titans. The Lightning Strikes are a little bit helpful, and he can't double Lightning Strike here to get rid of Sandstorm Titan. And at that point, we might see in his Zindal's gift, but he still has to be alive on board for that to happen.
Yeah, we might see that come down, but with this is going to be interesting. I'm curious to see what Smooney is going to elect to do here with these Dark Returns. It's possible he'll just go ahead and swing with the Sandstorm Titan, let it eat the 2 Lightning Strikes, and then he'll just recur the same Sandstorm Titan and play it to get it down as a 6/7 and get the Dawnwalker back into play.
Yeah, I was rooting for that Xenon Cultist first, but it looks like he wants to efficiently play out the Sandstorm Titan again. Just keep the pressure on.
Yeah, I was hoping he was going to Xenon Cultist that turn too, but once I realized that he could Dark Return back for the 5/6. I mean, this was super juicy. Getting 2 cards out of your opponent to put 2 back on your own side of the field.
Yeah, even when you have the answers to Dawnwalkers, if your opponent is playing on curve with Dawnwalkers, it can be really rough to get rid of them. He's obviously got to use Permafrost here, and then he just needs to jump block. It's not looking good for Rhyme.
Yeah, it's hard to see his line here. Yeah, I have to imagine you jump block here, although it doesn't feel good. I guess he could opt to let it go through, but you are risking things like Vara's favor at that point. You're really kind of playing with fire.
Yep. Dead to Vara's, dead to a lot of stuff on board. More Sandstorm Titans coming down. He can just wisp into Sandstorm Titan here. That's 2 extra cards plus a Sandstorm Titan. Smune is just an unstoppable force at this point.
Yeah, all these Sandstorm Titan pickups are just absolutely ridiculous. Like, you managed to hit 3 of them in basically his first 20 cards, maybe not even 20, and he is definitely taken over with this game here.
Yeah, if Rhyme were on some Annihilates, if he had gotten access to Steward of the Past early, there are definitely answers in Rhyme's deck for this setup, but he didn't have the ones that he wanted in hand, and those Permafrosts in particular just ended up being killers.
Yeah, Permafrost into a bunch of Sandstorm Titans never feels good. Super great against Dawnwalker, being able to lock those down and stop them from having the recursion effect. But against Sandstorm Titan with the endurance, not quite as much.
Yeah, it can even be a little bit unpleasant against Dawnwalkers because eventually you'll have to use a Lightning Storm with a Withering Witch, or you'll want to do something in your deck that like actually involves getting rid of the Dawnwalkers. I think we're definitely going to see both of the Steward of the Pasts, the extra Steward of the Pasts, come in for Rhyme's deck. Those should be good answers to Dawnwalkers. We'll see what Spune decides to side in.
Yeah, we did already see the additional Steward of the Past come in from the player sideboarding, so those are definitely in the list. And he's deciding to make one more addition. Snow Crush Animus, notably being one of the cards that came out for those Steward of the Past.
Yep. We have an Infinite Hourglass coming in for Smooney. Pretty good answer to Permafrosts, of course. We'll see if Rhyme even ends up taking out those Permafrosts. Obviously, with Infinite Hourglass in the side, Permafrost just becomes a much less appealing option.
Yeah, definitely. Those permafrosts. I have to imagine like it's so hard to yank them out in this matchup. I feel like it's always hard to pull permafrost against Xenon killers because they do have threats that you just don't you don't want to lock down particularly, or you can't even lock down. I guess I should say. But then they do have like the Umbran Reapers and the Dawn Walkers, like cards that you just absolutely need to lock down.
Yeah, of course, the Felon Control deck has one perfect answer there, but that's not enough. You do need at least some other way to deal with the Umbran Reapers and deal with the Dawnwalkers. And if you don't have some option there, then the Permafrosts kind of have to stay in. So he's going to have to count on Smooney just not getting his one of, and that Infinite Hourglass not getting him a lot of value. But yeah, we could see a lot of interesting things happening here. Sabotage is coming in for Ryan.
Yeah, I like the sabotages coming in. Those could be very useful. I mean, getting the attachments and like the different spells. I mean, at least some of the deck. You know, I wouldn't say a lot of it, but some of the Xenon Killers deck is entirely dependent on like the spells. Like we saw 3 Dark Returns that game. Those made all the difference.
Yeah, each of the Dark Returns is essentially an extra creature, so or an extra unit rather. Being able to get rid of those with Sabotage is really, really nice. And since Smooney's list is actually like a little bit light on units and a little bit heavy on spells, that's a pretty good include.
Yeah, definitely. Like he does have 19 spells in there to 29 units, and 19 spells is a lot. Although some of them don't, you know, they don't feel like spells. Like Seek Power, like you never really think of Seek Power as a spell, even though like it totally is a spell, and it can be sabotaged for, which is relevant. But
Yep, sabotaging a Seek power sometimes just wins you the game. It's it's not always the case, but if you can actually lock your opponent down and keep them out of that 4 power that they need for Sandstorm Titan or for Umbran Reaper or for Impending Doom, I mean those are the big threats in the Xenon Killers deck. So sometimes you can get those and it's just game over.
yeah, who knows? Maybe we'll see some turn 1, 2, and 3 sabos coming down and taking some Seek Powers out, stalling the player out. So we'll
Yeah,
see. But we're jumping back into game 2 right here, with Smooney up 1-0 playing Xenon Killers against the Rhymes Film Control list that apparently is called Sir Rhino, which I can see is very similar to the deck that Sir Rhino won the ETS weekly with about 2 months ago, I want to say.
Rhino is very famous for his film control. He's thrown a lot of film control decks into tournaments. Oftentimes, he'll ask people what they think he should play for a tournament, even though he's going to play film control. Yeah, it looks like Spoone starting off with a lot of power here. Friendly Wisp doesn't have any major targets until turn 5, at which point those copper conduits will be very effective.
Yeah, very true. And we're seeing on the other side of the table, Rhyme here, looking at some power troubles. The Primal Sigil definitely a huge pickup here. He really needed to hit that, but he still doesn't have a second source of primal influence to be able to cast these Wisdom of the Elders off. So his early turns could be very clunky here, depending on his top decks.
Yeah, he could even get stuck on 3 power despite having access to a lot of extra stuff. Well, Avara's Favor, of course, gets him to 4, but he could get stuck on power here without being able to draw. There's this hand looks a little bit awkward for Rhyme, but at least he has an answer to Friendly Wisp.
Very true. Spoony, on the other hand looking very solid, able to put a Wisp down here if he wants. Next turn, he can put another Wisp down, Vara's Favor, and then lead that into a turn 5 Copper Conduit as a 5/5 and try and pop these Wisps.
Yeah, he skipped the Wisps this time, which was very smart play. He's watching for those Vara's Favors and just holding out as long as he can. I think he'll probably end up playing the Friendly Wisps later for lots of extra card advantage, and that seems like a very good idea against a deck like this with a lot of Vara's Favors and Lightning Storms.
Yeah, very true. I have a feeling we're going to see him fire off both here, and just hope that the Lightning Storm's not there. Like, if he's playing around the single Vara's Favor, like, this isn't terrible if you drop both the Wisps. But if he does have a Lightning Storm, like, you definitely have to be cautious of just throwing 2 Wisps into the Lightning Storm.
does have Copper Conduit next turn, so playing one of the Wisps might seem like the safe play, even though we know, of course, that the Vara is in his hand. Of course, both of them does risk you getting somewhat blown out by Lightning Storm, if not significantly. Smune opts for one friendly Wisp here, which I think is the safe play, even though, of course, Vara's favor is still in Rhyme's hand.
Yeah, he opts for the in between, and I kind of like this because it gives him the out to just go ahead and drop the monument next turn. Like he can't just fall back on playing a 5/5 overwhelm and saying, yeah, go ahead and deal with it. He can even leave these copper conduits so that they can get much larger.
Yep, the later you can play the Copper Conduits, the better they are. But of course, you usually want to play them on curve if you can. Against a Felon control deck, you can wait on these conduits for as long as you like. And they have that awesome bonus where, of course, you Dark Return them back, and that extra power surge just continues to buff them, so they get bigger and bigger, double in size, triple in size. It's pretty great stuff.
All right, now this is very interesting. I think we're seeing Rhyme's game plan, like how he's going to try and win this game out here. He's going to try and take this recurring nightmare for the touchdown. What's interesting is that if Smooney wants to just go ahead and stop this, all he has to do is play the friendly wisp. Rhyme doesn't have enough power currently to make sure that he could get the recurring nightmare down and Black Sky Harb the wisp down. He's going to have to take a turn off, and that turn he takes off to make sure that the Black Sky Harb comes down is probably going to lose him the game. Like this 11 damage it's coming down on him very quickly.
Yeah, he already can't race out with Recurring Nightmare. He really needs to find some answers to these big units, and it looks like they're just not in his hand. We have a couple of big things that he can throw down in front of the conduits, but he's taking so much damage that every unit that Spoone plays is going to be too much of a threat for him to play Recurring Nightmare anymore.
Yeah,
And with
oh, sorry.
no, you're good. With 3 on the board, it looks like this game's probably going to end pretty quick.
Yeah, that's basically what I was gonna say. Is that like unless he hit a witch here and a lightning storm, he's basically just dead on board. Like he's got 16 damage, I believe. Yeah, 16 minus the wisp. Like he's got 16 of just overwhelm, and there's just no way he can put enough blockers up here to keep himself alive, right? Like,
Yeah.
even if you get the Black Sky Harb down and you lifesteal 4, you go to 13. I guess it stalls you. Like it keeps you alive. But
I think Black Sky Harb might be the play here. Count on drawing into that Withering Witch, but Wisdom of the Elders for an answer also doesn't seem too bad. He gets to stay at 11 here. Looks like he doesn't really have an answer.
yeah,
That is the game.
yeah, I think we're just going to see the concession there, unfortunately. Black Sky Harb was the play there. That would have at least kept him alive for one more turn. But
yeah, as we saw from the Wisdom of the Elders, he didn't have Withering Witch on top of his deck, so there wasn't a real answer.
yeah,
All right, so Smoothie
really,
2-0.
Yeah, Smooney quick 2-0 over Rhyme there. So Xenon Killers keeps pushing on, the only Xenon Killers list we have. Smooney won EOWC with it, so I'm not too surprised to see him bring it back here.
Yeah, keeping him out of the losers bracket. That's good for Smoone. Glad to have a little representation from like a player who has done very well in previous tournaments. So we're looking to see him go a little bit further ahead.
Yeah, we have seen a lot of great players so far already advancing, and a lot of great players knocked out, unfortunately, too. We'll be doing the recap as we normally do at the beginning of each round, but we will have the Fallen Heroes list of people who have now fallen out.
Is that the only copy of Spell Swipe knocked out of the tournament? I think it probably is. Yep, there's only one copy of Spell Swipe in all of the tournament deck lists, and unfortunately, we won't be seeing it for the rest of the tournament. So, sad days for Pojo.
Yeah, unfortunately, O2 there on the Spell Swipe list, but big thanks to Rhyme for showing up and playing nonetheless. Like, big thanks to all of our players for being here today. It's been an awesome day so far, and we still have 3 solid rounds left of tournament coverage bringing y'all before we will be at our top 8. So we will have 4 players from the winners bracket and 4 players from the loser bracket. Moving on until day 2, which we will be casting tomorrow, which kicks off at the same time, doesn't it, Pojo?
Yes, it does. In the meantime, we're looking towards round 2. Are we wrapping things up now?
Yeah, I do believe